You are now watching the Vision Channel, where Habakkuk 2 and 2 says, write the vision and make it plain, so they that see it can take it and run with it. This is the channel where faith and vision collide to bring forth a manifestation. You're watching the Vision Channel.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
3, 2, 1.
I'd like to say good evening and welcome. Thank you for tuning in with your girl on tonight. I have an exciting show for you. I have so much information for you on tonight. Tonight, we're going to be talking about domestic violence because it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So here, we're going to have a time when we shine, I want to say when we shine a light on an issue that affects countless lives, often in silence. And we all know some of us have been through domestic violence. We have it in our families. They done been through it. Everybody in some kind of way, shape, form, or fashion have experienced, whether they self or in their family, domestic violence. So tonight, I have a very special guest in the room with me on tonight. She's from Harris County Domestic Violence, and then she's a coordinating counsel. She does so many things. She wears so many hats. I'm telling you, she has so much information. She can't share it all at one time. But I love it when she come this way and share. She came last year and she shared during Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and she gave out so much information. And I know she has a lot more to share with us on tonight. So I can't wait to hear what she has to share on tonight. Believe me, I'm taking notes. Like us, share us, call all your family members, friends, co-workers, church members, pastors, co-pastors, ministers, lay people, call them. Tell them we're going to be talking about domestic violence. This is information you want to know. Pastors, you're going to need this for your ministry. I'm sure you all have members in your ministry that has experienced or experiencing domestic violence. So before I turn it over to Thecia Jenkins, she's here with us tonight. We're going to be addressing domestic violence. I'm looking forward to it. How can we recognize the signs? These are some things, and most importantly, how we as a community can help break the cycle and bring hope to those that are affected. So I'm going to turn it over to her. Before I turn it over to her, I want to give you the number just in case you have questions. You can call in with your questions. She'll address your questions. You don't even have to tell us who you are. Just call in if you just want her to answer some questions. You may be dealing with domestic violence and you don't know how to get out, or you just need some help to assist you. You can call 281-888-4042. Again, that number is 281-888-4042. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to her so that she can introduce herself.
All right. Thank you, Reverend Pradia. Thank you for the opportunity to come back again this year. Yes, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. The first Domestic Violence Awareness Month was actually for one day only. It was held in Washington, D.C. in 1978. And then the following year in 1979, they made Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So we've come a long way. I am with the Harris County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council. A long name. We've been around for about 27 years. We are what's considered a coordinated community response based off of the Duluth model, and that's D as in David, ULUTH, Duluth model out of Duluth, Minnesota. And I'd like to give that background about who we are and what we do. Overall, if I had to say it in just one sentence, the purpose of our agency, it is to ensure that survivors of domestic violence have access to safety and services, number one. And the reason behind that is I've been doing this work for 30 years, and I am still blown away by how many people have no idea about the services available here in Houston and surrounding Harris County. I was with the Bridge in Pasadena for 20 years. And during that time, as I would go out in the community and speak at different events, people would go, I had no idea that that bridge was here. And so our goal is to make sure that people know what services are available here in Houston and Harris County for survivors of domestic violence to be able to get the services that they need, because we believe that if she or he can get those services, it increases their level of safety. The second reason we exist is to hold those who use violence accountable, i.e. abusers. It's one thing to provide safety for the survivor. However, what about the person who is causing the violence in that person's life? So we're starting to do more work around that. And then finally, our third reason for existence is to prevent homicides related to domestic violence. And it's something I want people to really take into consideration. If you're on social media, and I think almost everyone, I'd say probably 80% of the population is probably on some form of social media. And if you're watching the news, you're getting a newspaper, however you get your information, that almost every week there is some story about domestic violence. And I'm going to give out lots of statistics. One of the stats when it comes to domestic violence is that 3 women every day are killed by an intimate partner.
Oh, God.
3. So that means by October 31st, there will be 93 women across the United States who will be killed. And I can tell you, I think it was last year, year before last, in the course of one weekend, I think in a 72-hour period, I think there were like 3 women who were killed right here in Houston. So I want you to think about that. And I want every pastor to think about that 3 women every day are killed across the United States. I want every Sunday school teacher to think about that as you are in there, taking care of those babies and teaching them about God and teaching them about love, and recognizing that they may not even be seeing God and love at home, and that there's a possibility that those children could be without their mother.
My God, yes.
We got to think about that.
Yes.
3 women every single day.
Yes.
And so that is definitely one of our biggest thrusts, is to try to see if we can prevent homicide from happening. Now, I'll ask you this question. And I started asking this question probably a year ago in my trainings, and I'm the training director with the agency. And I just thought about it. I asked the audience, there was actually law enforcement. I said, whose responsibility is it to keep survivors of domestic violence safe? So I'm going to ask you, Reverend Pradia, whose responsibility is it to keep the survivors safe?
You would think it would be law enforcement when a call is made as it relates to domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
But what I always hear is they can only do so much, or they can make that person leave at that time. But then what happens? That person eventually ends up coming back, because the one that's being abused,
Mm-hmm.
she's going to let that abuser back in, forgive him,
Yep.
thinking he's going to change. She tell her all this, I'm going to change, I'm going to get some help, I'm going to do this, that, or the other. But yet and still, I'm not going to hit you again. But yet and still, that doesn't happen.
Right.
Because if they hit you once, they're going to hit you again.
And I would be in agreement with that.
Fear
Yes.
is a big role in domestic violence.
Exactly. So I agree with everything you say, and then I'll add a comma. The response I get when I am training, and I provide training to law enforcement, healthcare providers, teachers, within ministry when I get that opportunity, and people will usually say it's up to the survivor to keep herself safe, or himself. And when you say about law enforcement, yes, there's only so much law enforcement can do. And here's a side note, and I always bring my side notes. Did you know that the most dangerous call for a law enforcement officer is a domestic violence call?
Jesus.
That is the most dangerous call they will go on.
Jesus.
Yeah. And I think it was about a year and a half ago, there was an officer who was killed when he went to a domestic violence call. So, no, it's not up to law enforcement to keep survivors safe.
Yes.
It's not for the survivor to keep themselves safe and alive.
Yes.
The only person who can keep a survivor safe and alive is the abuser.
Wow.
I want you to think about that.
So the question I have, as you just said that, Thecia. So if that person is to keep their self safe, and they've already put on record or went and placed her restraining order, I don't want to get too ahead of myself. And in some cases, the abuser end up killing that person, but then they'll get prison time for it.
We hope.
It's the problem. No, she will.
Oh, no, yes, if she kills him, definitely.
She will.
Yes.
But it's on record. So why is she getting it? Because if you have it on paper where police has been called, maybe he come back, she decides out of fear
Right.
to kill him, or per se her, because men be abused too, so I
Definitely.
don't want to leave them out. Then in turn, I see it all the time. I see it in the prison system. Women there for killing the abuser.
Yeah. I don't have the statistics memorized. However, what I do know is that women are more likely to do prison time for killing the abuser versus the abuser
Yes.
killing the victim.
Yes.
And again, that can kind of get into some other things. I want to say, again, that the only person who can keep the survivor safe and alive is the abuser. So we'll put that over there, because I think I'd like to have a conversation about those who abuse.
Yes.
Because going back to what you're saying about that, when the survivor kills their partner in order to be safe, to finally be free, we have to ask as a society, did we leave her or him with only that as an alternative? Because we put a lot of blame, and especially when the victim is female,
Yes.
a lot of blame we put on
Yes.
her.
Yes.
You know, as a society, we say things, and even from a cultural point of view, well, she needs to be stronger than that. She's just weak.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And my response to that has always been, survivors are probably the strongest people we know.
Yes.
Because to wake up every morning and
Yes.
not know how your partner's going to behave today, that maybe if you fry the eggs instead of scrambling the eggs,
Yes.
that could make things pop off, right?
Yes.
You never know what's going to get, quote unquote, trigger them. And it's not
Yes.
even about triggering them,
Yes.
because
Yes.
they want the power and the control. But we put
Yes.
all of this onus on the survivor. You should do this. You should do that. And I can't tell you how many women in 30 years, and I've been doing this work for 30 years, how many women have said to me, why should I have to change everything about my life?
Yes.
Because I have talked to women. I ran across a woman. She was in one of my talks that I was doing. Just lots of people I've come across over 30 years. And she was in healthcare. And this woman had went so far as to even change her legal name. And my sister's a nurse. And that's not an easy feat,
Yes.
to change your identity when
Yes.
you hold licensures.
Yes.
This woman had went so far to change her name, get all of her accreditation, all of her certifications changed, her licenses changed, and still he found her. Still he found her. So here is the reality, is that in most cases, she or he has done everything possible to make that person leave them alone. It is the person who is being abusive that is saying, I'm going to have you no matter what. So why do we continually put all the weight on the victims in the relationship when they have so many times done so many things? There are individuals that have orders of protection,
Yes.
and still that person will violate that order. We need to start talking to those who do the abuse and stop pointing the finger and saying, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Because many times they are doing all the things, but no one ever stops and says, brother, why won't you leave her alone?
Yes.
Sister, why won't you leave him alone?
Yes. Yes.
We've got to start having a conversation and accountability with those who choose to use violence in their relationship.
Yes. I want to bring up, Thecia, last week a young lady killed, domestic violence. Another young lady the week before, the incident in Sugar Land with 3 people in.
3 women every day, right?
So, exactly. But I was looking at the news, and this was the niece of the woman in Sugar Land. She didn't want to deal with him anymore. She had broken off with him. He couldn't handle it. And what got me was she lost her life, and she had lost her son too prior a while. So she was probably still in the grief mode for that. And then lose her own life by domestic violence. Somebody even broke it off with. She just couldn't accept it.
Mm-hmm. So the most dangerous time in an abusive relationship is when the survivor says, no more. And again, that goes back to, we put so much pressure on survivors saying, why didn't you do this and why didn't you do that? There is a stat that says that the average survivor will leave and return 7 to 11 times before they finally say no more. Yes. Or they end up being a homicide statistic. So when the abuser has made up their mind that they're going to disrupt your life, there's, in the end, there's nothing that the survivor can really do. However, if you have someone, and because of who your audience is, if you are a pastor, a minister, that if you have someone in your congregation that is in an abusive relationship and they have left that person, that not only does there need to be safety planning for them, the church also needs to safety plan.
Yes.
Because over the last few years, we've seen the abuser actually come to the church. And in fact, at the beginning of this year, there was a man who went into the church. They were going to do a hearing for the order of protection that Monday. Sunday, he shows up at his girlfriend's brother-in-law's church. So he didn't go for her, but he decided to go for what was important to her. And he killed the pastor, who was her brother-in-law, and her sister at the church. So domestic violence is the church's business.
Yes, it is.
It is their business.
Yes.
And just driving that point home is that when a person is attempting to leave their abusive partner, that is the most dangerous time. In fact, if there has not been any physical violence, this is when the physical violence will start, is when she or he says, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't do this. So there's a 75% increase for physical violence or homicide.
I would just want to bring up, I had a cousin back in August who lost her life to domestic violence. He shot her several times. But this was just, so it's a lot. It can be overwhelming, when you think about it. They don't even have to be related to you. Just the fact that a life was taken behind domestic violence.
Yeah.
And then abused mentally.
Yeah.
Because I was once in that place with the mental abuse.
Yeah.
It's not a joke either. It really is not.
What most people will tell me, and I also experienced verbal and emotional abuse in my first marriage, is that sometimes the verbal and emotional abuse can be more detrimental than physical violence. Because, as one woman said, she goes, my lip healed, my eye healed. But she said, every time I look in the mirror, I can still hear his voice telling me that I'm dumb, that I'm stupid. I've tried going back to school, but then I drop out because, I'm thinking I'm not smart enough to be here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we beat ourselves up with that. And sometimes it could be a trigger because, the devil creeping down. He'll plant that stuff in your mind just like it happened yesterday.
Yes.
So you still have to deal with it, even though it may have been years. You still have to deal with that. I don't talk about it as much, but a lot of times we need to address it so we can help others to bring the others through. Because sometimes I be feeling like I'm just here. That's why I don't like people. Don't yell at me. Don't call me out of my name. Because for me it's a trigger.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes even the way someone may stand next to you. Yeah. All of those things. And thinking about the long-term effects. This came up, I was doing a live last night, and someone had asked the question, does domestic violence, when you go on to a new relationship, does it affect that relationship? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because when you go into that new relationship, and if you have not gotten counseling, and I want to strongly, strongly encourage individuals who have experienced any form of trauma to please get counseling. I think culturally it is something that has been pushed away. I am seeing that it's starting to be more embraced and very excited about that. But you can have been in an abusive relationship, and your new partner, they may, because in any relationship, let's just face it, there are going to be times that somebody may yell. It doesn't mean they're abusive. Sometimes, there's conflict, right? There's normal conflict. But maybe your partner raises their voice, and then all of a sudden, you just flashback, that's what he used to do. That's what she used to do. And then you may find yourself becoming the aggressor in the relationship. Or you may, if you're formerly in an abusive relationship, in the background, the enemy's always speaking to you. Yeah, he gonna mess up. You know this too good to be true, right? Yeah, he said he was going to the corner store, but he going to be with somebody, right? Yeah, he asked you for a loan. He never gonna pay you back, because all that stuff starts to replay. And what happens is that you cannot fully surrender to that relationship. And if you're not fully surrendered to the relationship, then you're not really experiencing the love that maybe God has given to you through this person. Because I often heard it said that when you build a wall, it protects you, but it also keeps you from receiving.
Absolutely.
So definitely, if you go on to other relationships, that relationship is going to follow you until you turn around and say no. And I'm going to address this through counseling. I'm going to address this through prayer. This is a new relationship. I am with this person, and I'm going to be with them for who they are.
I want to ask you this. Many people, they think domestic violence is only physical, but mental can be just as worse. Can you explain the different forms it can take? I know it takes on emotional, financially, psychological, but this one I did not know. Digital.
Yep.
I did not know that.
Well, the world that we are living in, that digital abuse is very rampant. And I would say you could probably put it in there with all of the other things. And I often invite people to go look up the power and control wheel. It is something that I am very passionate about, and that is where we get all our information from in the world of domestic violence, the power and control wheel. And there's also the equality wheel, and we want to start talking more about the equality wheel. However, the power and control wheel, there's 8 forms of abuse that take place in an abusive relationship. And as you shared, Reverend Pradia, verbal and emotional abuse is one of those, where your partner constantly berates you, talks about you, tells you you're ugly, you're stupid. It can even be giving you the silent treatment, right? Not talking to you. There's people that when I've done a program, and they'll come up and they're like, oh my God, I never even thought about that. But yeah, there are times he won't talk to me for a whole week. And because he won't talk to me, I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know if I've done something wrong, and I just find myself like walking on eggshells. So definitely that. And so you can even bring in the digital abuse with that, because people can play mind games. There is an organization called Spark, SPARK, SPARK.org. And I've had them come in several times. They specialize in stalking. So they do trainings on stalking. And they do a piece about digital abuse and stalking. So if you're talking about verbal and emotional abuse, go to the website, number one. But all the things that people can use, there's something called spoofing, and some people
Oh,
may
yes,
already know
yes,
about that.
yes,
Where
yes.
I
I've
can
heard about
I can
that.
call you, and
Yes.
I can make my voice sound like Denzel Washington, and I can have a whole nother phone number pop up. And a lot of times when individuals have maybe gotten an order of protection against them, they know they're not supposed to be calling. That's what they will do, is that they will go through this app, they will use a whole nother phone number, they can make their voice sound like anybody. That is a form of emotional abuse, because you then have someone who is afraid to answer their phone.
Yes.
They play those head games with you, right?
Yes. Yes.
Other forms of digital abuse that would fall under the verbal and emotional abuse is what we call revenge porn. And that's where your partner may have, because, and we're going to talk about, if within the context of this, you're in a relationship with someone, it's consensual, you're married, and let's face it, I'm even keeping things real. You may not be married, but you're in a consensual relationship.
Yes.
Let's just
Yes.
keep it real, people.
Yes.
And your partner may say, hey, you know what? Let's turn the camera on and have a little fun. And you're not thinking that this is
Right.
going to come back to you one day.
Yes. Yes.
And I had a client that I was working with who's actually 16 years old, and she kept going back to the boyfriend because she said he told me that he will, because he had manipulated her into getting all of her social media passwords, and he had videoed them being intimate. And he says, if you don't come back to me, I will release this on all of your social media channels. So yes, that is a form of digital abuse, is where they may, or you've maybe sent pictures to them. And when I'm on college campuses and high school campuses and middle school campuses, I'm like, don't send people pictures of you,
Yes.
because that can then be used later as power and control.
Yes. Yes.
There have been young people that was actually, again, talk about that digital abuse again. I had watched a webinar, and there's an organization called ENDTAB, ENDTAB, ENDTAB.org, I believe, ENDTAB. And they do trainings as well. And and they've got free webinars on there. And so I was just blown away. I did not realize this, and I watched the webinar probably about a month or two ago, where people are literally engaging in relationship with avatars.
Right.
AI, artificial intelligence, because you can make this whole person. And it was a young man about 2 months ago who died by suicide in this relationship. And so talking about, so in relating this to domestic violence, that even with the AI, that they can make things so real. So I could get a picture of you,
Yes.
and I could then make it look like you did something compromising.
Wow. It's so much with this AI
Yeah,
stuff.
and I love AI. However, like anything, in the wrong hands.
Yes.
In the wrong hands.
Yes.
So definitely, digital abuse is something I think that we need to be making ourselves more aware of.
Yes.
Not pretending that AI does not exist, because it is here
Yes.
and it is not going
Here to
anywhere.
stay. Yes.
So yes, so definitely that with the verbal and emotional abuse. The other forms of abuse that are used in an abusive relationship are intimidation. And intimidation is when, a person's body language, we call it the mama look, when your partner
Yes.
just like stare at you,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
and you better not say not one more word.
Yes.
And a lot of times I believe that people sometimes think that domestic violence, abuse in a relationship is your partner raising their voice, cussing you out. However, it could be something as simple as, Pradia, I said we're not going to talk about it anymore. Do you understand? I didn't raise my voice,
Yes.
didn't cuss you out,
Yes. Yes.
didn't even disrespect you, quote
Yes.
unquote. But that tone of voice, that
Yes.
cadence,
Yes.
something happens inside of you to say, you
Yes.
know what? I just need to be quiet. We're not going to say nothing else about it. That is a form of intimidation. Intimidation is waking up in the middle of the night and maybe your partner is cleaning their gun. Who cleans their gun at 1 o'clock in the morning looking at
Yes.
you? Intimidation is us being engaged in a disagreement, and maybe I take this mic and I throw it and I hit the wall. However, there's a fear that comes over you as you watch me get ready to throw
Yes.
that mic. That's intimidation.
Yes.
Intimidation is, telling someone, it's a lot of crime happening. They finding all these people in the bio. Never know who's going to end up in there. That's intimidation.
Yes.
I haven't said I'm going to do anything to you,
Yes.
but there's that undercurrent.
Yes.
So we've got verbal and emotional abuse, we've got intimidation, then we have using children, and that's a huge one. Is, you know, saying that if you leave me, you can't take care of these children. You don't even have a job. You haven't worked in 5 years. Well, I haven't worked in 5 years because you won't let me work in 5 years. But it's saying that I'm going to take the children. It can be that maybe we have a CPS case and we separate because CPS has said I have to move out of the house because I can no longer be there because maybe I was sexually abusing the children, physically abusing. However, I lose my job and I'm like, okay, you know what? It's your fault that I'm homeless now. I can't find a job, so you need to let me come live with you.
Yes.
I move in with you. And that's that coming back again, right?
Yes.
But then things continue to be abusive. And so I finally say one morning, you know what? You're going to have to move on. I can't have you here. And the first thing out of my mouth is, well, I guess I need to call CPS because you know I'm not supposed to be here anyway. You know you own housing and my name not on the lease,
Yes.
right? So using the children, another form of using children, you know, I refer to COVID, and so many things happen with COVID, both negative and positive. And definitely the negativity is over 1 million people died.
Yes.
However, on the other hand, companies learned that people could work remote. Right? We learned that the side hustle was real.
Yes.
And with that side hustle, if I'm a person who is abusive and the court has ordered, because when you get an order of protection, it can also be required that you pay child support under that order of protection. And so I'm looking at having to send you $2,000 to $3,000 a month or $100 a month, whatever I make. And I'm like, I'm not going to send her my money. I'm not sending him my money. I'm going to quit my job. And yes, there are individuals who will quit their job.
Yes.
And you may say, well, how is that using children? Well, it's using the children because if she or he has custody of the children, they got to feed those babies.
Yes.
They got to have a house for those babies to stay in. So I know that if I quit my job, that I am going to hurt you. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to make money. I know how to paint. I know how to fix cars. I know how to do software. There's all kinds of things that I know how to do. And so I pay myself. And unlike a 9-to-5 job,
Right.
I'm not going to automatically send you child support. Does that track?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And also, when I quit my job, that means that our children don't get health care.
Yes.
And so our son has leukemia, has lupus.
Yes.
Their insurance is gone.
Yes.
So at some point, I know that you're going to quote unquote weaken and say, you know what? All is well. I'm coming back. Can you get a job? Can you get some more benefits? Because our child is sick. So they use the children by quitting their job. So using children, the economic abuse that you mentioned, what we know is that probably about 99% of all survivors of domestic violence experience economic abuse. And economic abuse can be not being allowed to work. And I could probably give you literally over 100 stories of women who have shared how they were not allowed to work. One young lady, her story always sticks out to me, is that she said, you know, Miss Thecia, I always wanted to be a school teacher. And so she married her husband a week before she's supposed to graduate from high school. So they get married that Friday. She's all excited about going to school that Monday because, you know, as they say in The Color Purple, I was married now. Yeah. And she went to go to school and say, I was married now. And he looks at her and says, where are you going? She goes, I'm going to school. He goes, no, you're not. You're my wife now. Your job is to stay here, clean the house, have my dinner ready, and be here for me. There's no reason for you to complete your education. And she said, Miss Thecia, she goes, it was like, I almost lost my breath. I was like, because we had never discussed it. He had never, ever said, in all the time we were going together, we were preparing for the marriage, that he had never said, you can't go back to school. Right. And so she said, I walked around that whole week just pouting and I was upset. And she goes, graduation was right around the corner. And she goes, I don't know if he felt sorry for me, if I made him feel guilty. And he's like, go ahead, go back to school and graduate. And so he did allow her to go and finish up her classes. And then she started wanting to go to college. And he was like, absolutely not. You're not going to college. And so as she's sitting there, to speed the story up, we're sitting there in the space where I was doing her intake. And she said, I often wonder what my life would have been like. She says, I wanted to teach. I used to get my cousins in the backyard and I would line them up and I would play school teacher. And she talked about that day that she came to where I was to do her intake. She had to borrow her brother's car. And she says, I hope I have enough gas to get back because, you know, I had to borrow his car and I promised him I would put gas in it. They would have the same level. And she says, I don't know how I'm going to do that. So here's a young woman who had the opportunity to be a school teacher. School teachers make what, maybe $50,000 to $80,000 a year.
Yes.
He took that opportunity away from her.
Yes.
There are survivors. Their names are not on the checking and saving account. They do not know the PIN number. And there are women and men who are working. There are individuals out there making $100,000 plus a year, yet they are on an allowance because their check is direct deposited to their partner.
Wow.
And they couldn't get inside that bank account if they wanted to.
So if he left, money left with him.
Exactly. And that's economic abuse.
Yes.
How does that work? Because she or he can't make decisions. How do you go and get a place? You know, I was talking to a woman who was making good money, and she says, I can't believe that I'm in this place, because she was highly educated, you know, had made good money, but all of her checks were direct deposited to him. And she said, I have to get to HR to change everything around, but that doesn't help me today. I have nowhere to stay and I have no money. And so I like to always make sure that I cover that, because we tend to think, or want to think, that domestic violence only happens to women who are in poverty. There are nurses out there. There are accountants out there. There are teachers out there. There are elected officials out there who are in abusive relationships. Okay?
Yes.
Coercion and threats is another tool that those who use violence in their relationships, and what coercion and threats is threatening someone by saying, if you leave me, I'm going to kill myself. And that's probably the number one strategy. If you walk out that door, I have no reason to live. You know, there are people going, well, girl, let him kill himself. Girl, let her kill herself.
Yes.
No, because even with the survivor, they may not love the person.
Yes.
But they don't want to see the person not be here either. So they will choose to stay in that relationship when their partner threatens to kill themselves. And then on the flip side, I wish you would walk out that door.
Yes. Yes.
So they will either threaten to kill themselves or kill their partner. And unfortunately, what we see most often is that it becomes homicide, suicide.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or if you're on probation or you're on parole, and you go back to your partner after you get out of jail, prison, whatever the case may be, and they may make it difficult for you to keep a job because you got to pay when you're on parole and probation, right? Yes. So you can't pay your parole officer, your probation officer, if you don't have a job. And then your partner won't even give you the money, which then puts you in violation.
Yes.
So that's a coercion, saying that if you don't do what I tell you to do, I'm not going to pay for your fees to go to your probation officer.
Yes.
Or I'm going to tell your probation officer that you was driving and you got a DUI. You're not supposed to be driving in the first place. So they may tell you, I need you to go to the corner store. You're like, well, baby, you know I can't drive. Well, you know, what's the use of having you around? You can't do nothing. All I'm asking you to do, it take you 2 minutes to get there to the corner store.
Yes.
But see, earlier on, you did something that upset them. So as soon as you turn those keys, they call in your probation officer and they call in the police. So when you drive up,
they there to pick you up.
And the police don't know the backstory.
Yes.
All they know is that you're driving and you're not supposed to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you have any questions for Thecia, call in. Oh, she's sharing so much information. I'm over here taking notes too. Call that number, 281-888-4042. Again, that number is 281-888-4042. Thecia, some of the things, when we look at it, what trends or changes have you seen in domestic violence in those cases in Harris County over the past few years?
Well, we just, as an agency, we just had a training, and one of the trends is really beginning to respond to strangulation cases. And also we have the domestic violence high risk team. And that actually, I forget the state that it started in. However, domestic violence high risk team looks at those cases where there is a higher probability that the survivor will become a homicide victim. And so this program has become successful, and even the Texas Council on Family Violence now has funding. I think they just funded, I think the Bridge Over Troubled Waters got funding to have a domestic violence high risk team. I want to say Empowered Survivor may have gotten some funding. Don't quote me on that, even though I'm on air. But so the domestic violence high risk team, that is a new initiative, probably about 5 or 6 years old, but it is being able to assess a domestic violence call. So when law enforcement goes out, they're supposed to be asking you a set of questions. And these questions are to determine if the person, if there's a higher probability that she or he will be killed by their partner. And so some of the things that we look at, and this was actually, so this is a two-part answer. So there's a domestic violence high-risk team that takes care of those cases where they have what's called a multidisciplinary response. So if I am that person who's being referred to the domestic violence high-risk team, our team meets, I believe, every other Wednesday. And so they have law enforcement there from HPD, Pasadena Police Department. So whichever was the one who handled the case, they've got people from probation there. So you got someone from the crisis center. So you got all these people paying attention to me, right? And they're working with me to see how they can help me to be safer. And I did say safer, SAFER, because going back to the question I asked, who is the only person who can keep me safe, is the abuser. That's the only person who can keep me safe. That is the only person. I don't care if I get an order of protection. I don't care if I get a divorce. I don't care if I move to Timbuktu, Alaska. He is the only person who can keep me safe, because he is the only person who can have a change of mind. He is the only person who can have a Romans 12, 1 and 2 experience. Come on now. We're going to make it biblical.
Yes. Yes.
That he's going to say, you know what, Lord? Deliver me. She doesn't want to be with me. You know, so take this controlling spirit away from me. He's the only one who can make me safe.
Yes.
Law enforcement, the shelters can help me to be safer.
Yes.
And so some of the things that have come out of the domestic violence high risk team, we have an amazing young lady who was on our team, Susan. She was working with a client who was on the high risk team, and the partner kept showing up at her residence because that's what they do. They don't care about no protective order. They're going to show up at your residence. They don't care. They're going to show up at your job. And so she had, part of the safety plan was to get a Ring camera. And here's the thing. I can say that my partner came to my house 15 times this week. That's my word against his.
Oh, wow.
But if you pull up that ring
camera,
law enforcement can't deny it. Judge can't deny it. And the person who's abusing me cannot deny it. You showed up at my house 15 times and I got you every single time you came up that driveway. And out of that Ring camera, she had reached out to Ring to say, hey, we're working with survivors of domestic violence. Can you assist us? And so now Ring has partnered with Texas Council on Family Violence. And depending on the case, that survivor can get a Ring camera. So that has been born out of the work of the domestic violence high risk team. That is a strategy to try to keep her or him safer. Wow. Now, the other part, how you make it onto the domestic violence high risk team, is that we are training law enforcement officers and advocates. So when you call to a 24-hour hotline, you should be being asked certain questions. And I won't go through all the questions, but I'll share maybe three or four questions with you. So one of those questions is, and all these questions are asked from the vantage point of the last year. So if I were to call a hotline tonight, it's December 22nd, not December, oh Lord, it's October 22nd, October 21st. Somebody help me, October 21st, 25. So these questions would go from October 21st, 24 to October 21st, 25. So it's a 12-month. That's how the tool works. And so they would ask me, Thecia, have you left your partner in the past year? So I go, okay, yeah, I left him in November. I left him for Thanksgiving last year. I came back and then I left for New Year's and then I left on Easter. So that's 3 times. Yes. What we know is that the more times you leave your partner, the higher the chance of you being killed. Because what did I say earlier? That the most dangerous time in a relationship is when you leave.
Yes, yes.
Why? Because He or she is extremely jealous.
Yes.
They may even say, I know you was over there with your baby daddy while you was gone.
Yes.
Oh, I know you got, and again, I just keep it real. I know you got a high nature, so I know you was with somebody while you wasn't with me. We was separated for 6 months. Who you was with?
Mm-hmm.
So that jealousy comes
Yes,
into play.
yes,
And if they're ruminating, thinking, I know she was sleeping with somebody else. I know he was sleeping with somebody else. That increases the probability of them harming you.
Yes.
Right? So that's one of the questions, and that's something for you to think about. Have I left my partner more than once this year? Another question would be, has your partner ever told you that they would kill you? And the follow up to that is, do you believe that they can? So you think about the past year. How many times has your partner said, I'm going to kill you?
Yes.
I wish you would leave me. I'm going to kill you. Another question is, does your partner use drugs or alcohol? Now, drugs and alcohol do not make people abusive.
Right.
It does, however, make them lose their inhibitions. Right. Are they on medication? Should they be on medication? Because if their schizophrenia or depression is not being properly handled,
Yes.
then that makes them more likely to commit a crime because, again, they're not in complete control of their faculties, correct? And here's a big one is, are you pregnant or have you delivered in the last 12 months? Because there is research that shows that when a woman is pregnant or she has given birth in the past year, that she has a higher chance of being killed by her partner.
My God.
And we're not really sure why that is. However, statistically, it has been proven over and over. If you think about some of the cases that come up, she was pregnant. She had just delivered.
Jesus.
Yeah. So what should be the most beautiful time in a woman's life can be the season in her life that will usher her into death.
My God.
Yeah.
Ooh. Mm. This is so much information, Thecia. Oh my God.
Oh, and then the strangulation piece. Has your partner strangled you? And we're not talking about choking. It's strangulation.
Yes.
Impeding breath is usually what law enforcement is
Yes.
going to call it.
Yes.
And if you've been strangled, and it said that if you shake hands with somebody and just the pressure that you use to give a good handshake,
Yes.
that's on this, and I think they call it the carotid artery or something like that, that pressure that you shake someone's hand with is enough to take your life. I think it's 7 minutes. It's probably maybe not that long, but just that amount of pressure in a few minutes, you will lose life.
Wow.
And what people also don't realize is that when you've been strangled, that even if you don't die, your brain cells are dying.
Wow.
And so one of the other services that we are looking at and actually doing in Fort Bend County Women's Center, I believe Anissa, who provides culturally relevant services to those within the Muslim community, is that we're doing neurofeedback. And neurofeedback is a medical treatment for individuals who have traumatic brain injury. We'd probably be surprised how many women and men are dealing with traumatic brain injury, because when you are being strangled, suffocated, all that oxygen that needs to be going to your brain
Yes.
isn't getting there, which means your brain is dying.
Jesus.
Okay. And so if you have to repeat something to someone over and over, if maybe they have huge mood swings,
Yes.
these could all be signs that you may have traumatic brain injury. The inability to concentrate. All of those are forms of traumatic brain injury.
Wow. This next question, Thecia, because I do want you to pray the last 5 minutes before we get out the air, to pray for those who's men, women, whoever you are, young people, they go through it too.
Oh, yeah.
Honey, if I tell you to pray for those who don't know how to come forward, suffering in silence. Pray for them too, don't know how to get out or reach out to somebody that can help them, just being in fear from it.
Yeah.
It's what causes a lot of them. So stay in it.
It's huge.
But there are a lot of ways. sometimes they know the warning signs. Sometimes you don't know the warning signs. Even if it's not yet physical, what are some signs to look for? I know you shed a light on some things, whether it's physical, mental.
Well, definitely all the things I shared from that power and control wheel. Um, we have what's called an adult fatality review team. So what that means is that we look at homicides that have occurred here in Houston and Harris County. And these are cases that have already been adjudicated. In other words, the person has gotten their sentence or whatever's going to happen. But we actually have the law enforcement officer from whatever agency. So we have like Deer Park, LaPorte, Houston, Pasadena, and we get to see everything that transpired in that murder case as it was moving through the judicial system. And I will tell you, until I did this job that I'm doing with the Harris County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council, I had never seen a deceased person that had been killed. Ain't nothing like it. My sister's a nurse, and I always say, I don't know how you do your job.
Yes.
Because I don't mess with blood. Sorry. And to see someone and to see the things that I've seen at these crime scene photos, number one, is like, how do you say you love somebody and do this to them?
Yes.
That in some cases their faces are not recognizable.
Yes.
How do you do that to someone
Yes.
that you love?
Yes.
And
Yes.
for the person that is lying there, that I often wonder, what were their last thoughts?
Yes.
That, yeah, you always said you would do this, but I never thought you would do it.
Yes.
And we don't think those things when we first go into a relationship with someone. And I have a background in human resources. And this is one of the things that they used to tell us when I would go to workshops. They would say that the employee that you get in an organization within those first 90 days, that is the best Reverend Pradia you will ever have. Because see, after 90 days, who you are is who you are, and it's going to come out. So just like on jobs, you show up and you say all the right things to get the position.
Yes. Yeah.
You send your imposter to the interview.
Yes. Yes.
The same thing happens
Yes,
in
Lord.
relationships. The imposter asks you for your phone number.
Yes.
The imposter inboxes you.
Yes.
You tracking me?
Yes. Yes.
If this is a person that has these issues.
Yes.
So he or she shows up as wonderful. They show up as your Ruth, your Boaz.
Yes.
They may go to church with you every Sunday.
Yes.
And you thinking, girl, I found the one. Oh, girl, he go to church, and girl, he be praising the Lord. Oh my God. And girl, he called me. Girl, he told me he was gonna call me at 6 o'clock. Girl, he called me at 5:58. I know he don't want. Girl, he prayed before we get off the phone.
Yes.
And as my grandmother used to say, he finally says, baby, I love you, and I know that you're the woman that God has sent me.
Yes.
And as my grandmother used to say, that's when you lose your senses, your nose wide open.
Yes.
Now, the young people are telling me that's called love bombing.
Oh,
Where
that's what it's called?
yeah, that's what the young people telling me, that it's called love bombing, where they just, they give you flowers, they taking you to all the nice restaurants, they're getting you some scrimps and some steak. They doing all the things, right? Blowing you up on social media, y'all taking y'all pictures. Everyone's like, oh my God, it's so wonderful, it's so wonderful. And then when they know that they have you, you may start to notice, I ain't going to church this Sunday with you. Your pastor kind of janky.
Yes.
And why you wearing that? You don't need to be on that praise team. Why don't you stay home with me? We can watch. We can live stream church today. Why you always start an argument with me? Well, I'm not starting an argument with you. I was just telling you how I felt. Well, I didn't ask you that. Being very controlling, all those things, but you start to notice a shift in behavior.
Yes.
That the person who used to give you all of their time,
Yes.
that now they ghosting you.
Yes.
Because it's like, I got you.
Yes.
And don't be asking me where I've been.
Yes.
I've been where I've been. And I'll call you when I call you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The person who always wanted to go and visit your family, all of a sudden, your parents ain't never liked me from get start. I was trying to get to know them, but you know what? I'm not going over there.
Yes.
Now, if you want to go over there for Easter, you can go.
Yes.
Well, in your mind, you think, I'm not going to leave my partner here by themselves.
Exactly.
So all of those can begin to be red flags, always wanting to know where you are going.
Yes.
The person who has that Jekyll Hyde thing, one minute they really nice, and then the next minute
Yes.
they just switch the code on you.
Yes, Lord.
Those can be red flags.
Yes.
Little things like, oh, why are you wearing that dress with all those flowers on? Oh, baby, I was just playing with you. And my daddy, and he would always say, he goes, watch when people say, oh, I was just playing.
Yes, Lord. Yes,
Yeah.
Lord.
Yeah. So
And I'll say in a minute, no, you weren't playing.
No.
You did just what you said.
Exactly.
It come out before I know it.
And here's the other thing, especially when I'm working with young people. I'm gonna share this quick little story. Joel Osteen told us, I always like to say where I got my stuff from, because I didn't invent the story, but it was years and years, probably about 15 years ago. He shared this about this baby, this family. They had just had a new baby and they had a toddler, and so the toddler kept saying, I want to be with my baby brother. I want to be with my baby brother. And they was like, okay, you know what? We're gonna trust him to be with his baby brother. So they left the room and they was by the door so they could still watch us, make sure what he was gonna do with the baby. So he's looking down at the baby, and finally he's talking to the baby, and then he says, what does God sound like? I'm starting to forget. And to me, that's such a powerful statement.
Yes.
Because somewhere along the line, we stop trusting ourselves and we stop trusting God.
Yes.
And when that person maybe raises their voice or they question your decisions,
Yes.
you've decided you want to go back to school. And they're like, are you sure you want to go back to school in this economy? That you get that little gut check. And the word of God says, lean not into thy own understanding, but acknowledge me in all your ways.
Yes.
You go before God and say, you know what? I don't know, Lord, I'm feeling some kind of way.
Yes.
Things aren't like they used to be. I'm getting this gut check.
Yes.
But so many times, and especially as women, we will wave that off.
Yes. Yes.
God gives us
Yes.
the ability to sense when something is not right.
Yes.
And I can personally say, I've talked myself out of it.
Yes.
We will talk ourselves out of it.
Yes.
Now, does that mean you should be suspicious all the time? No, but there is just a special knowing that comes over you.
Yes.
There's actually a book called The Gift of Fear by Gavin DeBeck, and he shares a story. And this Gavin DeBeck has done training in Washington with the FBI and all those folks, and he shares a story of a woman who was sexually assaulted and murdered. And she's coming home and she's got all these groceries, and this guy is following behind her. And as she gets ready to go into her apartment building, he says, hey, let me help you. She's like, no, I got it. And he continues to follow her. No, come on. Let me help you. Yeah, come on. You got all those bags. Let me help you. And so he keeps following her, and finally she says, okay. And in New York, they have those apartments where you have to buzz yourself in and everything.
Yes,
so she buzzes in and she allows him to come in. And at this point, she's thinking he's going to put the groceries down. He does. He goes, well, no, let me go ahead and go upstairs with you. She's like, I got it. He's like, oh, come on now. Let me help you. And so she allows him. He follows her up to her apartment. And so they're standing in front of her apartment. So she just kind of stands there. And she's like, okay, he should be leaving, right? He's like, come on. If I was going to do something to you, I would have done it. Come on. Let me just open the door to your apartment and I'll put the groceries down and then I'll go. And because we train women to be so submissive, not to say no, and we still do that in 2025. Okay? Be nice. Don't be rude.
Yes.
And it's not rude to set boundaries.
Yes.
So she opens the door. Bam. Just like that. He shut it. He proceeded to beat her, sexually assault her for hours. And she obviously lived to tell this story, but she said the whole time, from the moment he followed her on the street. There was just something, but she dismissed it because she didn't want to be rude.
Yes.
And she finally listened to that voice.
Yes.
Because after he had completed everything that he had done to her, he said, just lay here and I'm going to go get a glass of water and then I'm going to leave you. But she said that he turned the music up very loud. And in that moment when he turned the music up loud, she said, he's going to kill me. Because he turned the music up so no one would hear her screams.
Yes.
And in that moment, she says she got up and it was almost like she was in a trance, that she walked past him, she had the sheets on her, and she made it to the door, and then that's when she finally started running. But for the first time, she paid attention to the voice.
Yes.
I want to say she paid attention to God.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we have to teach our sons and our daughters. We have to learn ourselves again
Yes.
to listen to that voice,
Yes.
to listen to the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been such a wonderful show on tonight. Thecia has shared so much information on tonight. If you know you're in a relationship, whether you're the abuser or you've been abused or you know someone, you can call the one, it's 1-800.
Yes. 1-800-799-SAFE. 1-800-799-7233.
And Thecia, before we get off the air, is there any way they can get in contact with your office as well?
They can go to our website.
Okay.
And if they just do a Google on Harris County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council, we will come up. I will say, Reverend Brady, we're not a direct service agency, so we will then refer them back. Yes, yes.
You understand?
We do have mobile advocates, as long as funding lasts and all that kind of good stuff, that will come out in emergency situations, and usually an agency will call us out for that.
Okay.
So I guess my main point is that your best resource is going to be able to call that 1-800, and they will put people in contact with, say, the Bridge in Pasadena, Houston Area
Yes,
Women's Center,
yes.
that those are the ones who are actually providing direct services. Our role is to coordinate with all of the different systems, the crisis centers, law enforcement, hospitals, schools, churches, so that we can provide the education and the resources so
Yes.
that those people can be the ones who connect survivors to resources to be safer.
Okay. Pastors, if you're out there listening to me, and I know some pastors out there listening to me, if you need Thecia Jenkins to come out and do a training class for you, you can reach out to me. I will share her information with you, because the churches need to know this information, because as I said earlier, there are churches who have members right in their pew, in their congregation, who is been abused or being abused, whether you're a male or a female, whether you a young person, a young lady, or a young man. You not too young. It's going on with our young people. I see it. I'm a teacher by profession, so I see things. So get in contact with me. You can reach out to me. You can put it in the chat tonight if you would like to. Reach out to me. I will share that information with you. She'll love to come and train your ministers. Whoever you need training, she'll come and train for you. So tune in with your girl on next week. I have another exciting show for you. I'm telling you, she has shared so much information. She have a lot more. But I've wrote down some things that I'm going to look at, because it also will help me in my ministry and help me as I counsel. And it is even helped me myself by being a person who has experienced mental abuse. So it's no joke, it's real. I don't care what your abuse is, it's real. And it happens every day. As she said, 3 women die a day. So like us, share us, as I said, tell somebody, go back and watch it. Tell them to go back and watch this show so they can get information from it on how to help them. So thank you for tuning in with your girl tonight. You all have a good night and be blessed.